What's up, guys? This is Harp with Harp's Corner again. Today, we're going to pick up where we left off after the ARC Breeding 101. We're going to talk about ARC Mutations. First of all, to get something out of the way, I want to apologize for not uploading any videos for about a week. My computer took a crap on me and had to get that back up and running. But I'm back up and running now, and I'm starting today. We're going to go right back on the usual schedule, so I want to apologize for that. With that being said, we're going to pick up, like I said, where we left off with the 101. Kind of the three-part video we did one on taming. We also did one on egg hatching. I guess technically 4 parts now. We had talked about breeding and how to breed for stats, and the next thing I wanted to talk about was how to mutate the tames and to get certain mutations, and really the way that works the best for me. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of other ways to do this. There's plenty of other strategies. Feel free to develop your own, maybe pick and pull out of this what works for you and what doesn't, but this is what works for me, what I've seen work. I've bred a lot of dinos playing ARC. I've played a lot of ARC. So we're going to jump into it. Now, if you watched our How to Breed Dinos, then this area looks a little bit familiar to you, with the exception of this is a bit more populated. So to summarize what happened, basically, I took the 2 raptors up top. They're a male and female raptor. Now, one had a high melee and one had a high health. I wanted to make a child raptor of those that had the health and the melee, which is what we see on this middle row here. Now, I kept breeding the male and female up at the top until I got a male and then a lot of females that are lined up. All of them have the high health and the high melee. Now, their stats and levels are a little bit altered outside of that, and that's because, the high food stat might have came by, or the high stamina stat or whatever might have taken over. But so they range from 230 to like 231, but at the end of the day, they all have 1600 health, 1600.3, and 434 melee damage. That's what we're looking for. But the trick is, when you're getting mutations, first you want to try to get your mating pairs to have identical stats, or at least the stats that you want to mutate. The reason why is because the mutations essentially work like a random, not a random, but a level assigned, an extra level assigned to that stat. So it's going to go up a little bit. So let's say, for sake of argument, the male and females we had, one had 400 melee damage and the other one had 500. Well, you could have a child with a melee damage between, just over 400. So the trick is you want to get the same stats. The ones that you're trying to mutate, you want the same stats between the parents. And that's what we got here. That's what we established here. We have the one male all the way to the left and then all of the females to the right. And if you notice, also the colors kind of transferred over too. That's the other part of mutations we're going to talk about. So up top, you have the mother and father. One has, the green and the white chest, where the other one has the red with the black chest. And we have a kind of mix of, between the feather options and the colors of what moved over and what didn't. We really didn't see the white chest part move over. Most of the chest pieces, it looks like the chest section was all that gray and black, but the red and greens did pull from different places. That's the other thing we want to talk about breeding. When you're breeding these animals, and we talked about this a little bit on the last video, the last 101, the colors passed down are kind of random. You never know what's going to pass down and what doesn't. We kept breeding these guys until we saw a mutation, and the reason why we saw it is because every one of these has the same melee damage, 434, right? We had a female come out with 448. Now, if I also go to show ancestors on this female, it tells me right off the bat that this was a matrilineal mutation. So it took a mutation from the mother, and that's where we ended up with. Now, a lot of these, where it says 432 and then 2 on the right, that's just what bred to get to that point, really. What you really want to pay attention to is the random mutations up at the top, that 1 out of 20 and the 0 out of 20. You can't, once you max those out, once you get to 20 out of 20 on both sides, you're not going to get anything else. From my experience anyway, those numbers may say like 21 out of 20 or 22 out of 20, but it's a false positive. Like, it doesn't actually increase the mutated stat from what I've experienced in breeding an ARC. So that's what you want to pay attention to, is that 1 out of 20. And it was a mutation that we were looking for in melee damage. So now our melee damage is at 448. Now, you're not always guaranteed a color mutation when the dinosaur mutates, but we did. We got like this blue belly going on. So, as weird as it sounds, we took this female here and bred it again with this male, and we kept going through the process until we got a male that took that melee stat as well. Once a dino has a mutation, the game registers that as a stat, a permanent stat. So it's not that much of a gamble to try to get this stat to pass over. So that's what I did. I kept doing that until I got a male down here with the same health and the 448 melee damage. And we'll notice on the mutations, it's 1 from the patrilineal side. Now, the reason why I said the color isn't always guaranteed. If you look animals up either on the Gamepedia, well, usually on the Gamepedia site, on that first screen, if you scroll down just a little bit, it's going to tell you all the different color regions of a dino. Now, raptors, for instance, are pretty good with this because they have a lot of them, but your color regions range from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 6 different areas that has different colors. Now, one might be associated to the feathers, or one might be associated to the belly, or that's pretty much how it works. It's just different color assignments per different region. But in the raptor's case, region 2 is empty. It doesn't actually have a region 2. So in theory, you can get a mutation but not see the color difference because the color could have randomly assigned to a region that doesn't exist on that dino. The game doesn't go back and say, oh, well, you don't have that region, I'll assign it to another one. It doesn't do that. So when you're breeding for mutations, always check the stats. Don't necessarily check for the colors. Now, if you're trying to mutate just for colors, then by all means, the stats don't matter. If you're just trying to get cool colors, the stats don't matter at all. Just get as many females mating with one male as you can and just go through the process. Mutations don't happen very commonly at all. Sadly to say, I probably killed about 30 raptors. This transition from here to here was pretty easy. I think I only lost 2 or 3 raptors that didn't have the high stats takeover. But to get a mutated out of this group down here to this girl, I probably killed about 30 of them. So be prepared to have to rinse, repeat, go over and over and over when you're doing this, because it doesn't always, you might get lucky, it might happen the first couple times, but usually it takes quite a lot to get the mutations, especially if you're looking for a specific mutation in a specific field. But yeah, that's it. So you can go down the rabbit hole with this pretty far, right? So in theory, I can keep doing this. I can take this male and female, keep breeding them, keep getting a bunch of females, and do the same thing I did up here. Get one male with a bunch of females that all have the same stats, and keep breeding them again until I see a mutation in health, or until I see a mutation in health, or until I see a mutation in melee, if that's what I'm looking for. It's always situational too. Mutations, maybe you're trying for carry weight, things like that. You want to pay attention to that as well. This part, in my experience, is the most critical part. You have to get dinos with the same exact stats that you're trying to mutate, because you won't be able to tell where the stats are going after that. With that being said, I mean, you also have to look at the effectiveness of mutation. Yes, it takes a little bit of time to get done, but also my melee jumped from, what was that, 434 to 448. So my melee went up 14, and that's just one mutation. In theory, if I went through this the whole way, that would be 20 levels and 20 levels. If let's say I did this all into melee damage and I kept going until all the mutations were melee mutations, that's 40 levels in melee. That's insane. That's an extra 40 levels you could get in melee damage. The other dead giveaway to note is usually if they come out, if one child baby comes out really a level significantly higher, like this one came out at a 237, and most of the other ones were coming out at like 234 or 232. So that's something to pay attention to too, but you always want to check the stats. You don't want to go off the color. And the color thing, it's steady too, so it works just like the stat. The game registers it as its permanent color. You're going to stand just as much chance to pass this blue down the line as you would have trying to pass the general colors of these raptors down the line. So once you get the mutations, the game registers it all as permanent. You're not going to have to go by chance to try to get any of that. But that's mutations in a nutshell. We're going to talk about some tools for those of you that are using S+. That is going to help you speed this process up like crazy. If you're not using S+, this, in my experience, is the best way to do it. But if you're using S+, there's some advantages, and we're going to talk about that moving on. Now, we talked about when we were breeding that you don't want to imprint your dinos because the imprinted stats don't carry over to the children. But once you get to that point, let's say you get to that point and you're like, all right, well, I finally got the tame I'm looking for. I want to do the imprint. Now, normally, and without S+, you have to feed a kibble, take it for walks, cuddle it, all that good stuff. Now, with S+, there's a lot of different options. So, some things that you're probably going to want. Tech generator in S Plus isn't necessarily mandatory, but it is incredibly helpful, mainly because a lot of these little S Plus things can either run off a tech generator or they have specific things that they run off of. Now, if you're breeding massive breeds, this egg hatchery works out really well. Let me turn my HUD off. There we go. All right, so the S Plus hatchery, this requires refertilizer to fuel. You just put refertilize in there and just hit activate and it does its thing. Or it can be powered by a tech generator. And that's the same with all of these S Plus. Most of these S Plus items, they can be powered by some random fuel source or they work by tech generator. The other cool thing about a lot of these is you can always toggle to show range and it tells you how far out it can see. So an egg hatchery like this can pretty much cover your whole good sized chunk of your base. Foggy as hell in here. We'll go back to hide range. Anyway, but what the hatchery does, the hatchery will pick up any fertilized eggs that drop in that area and drop it into itself. And when you activate it, it does like a little animation. And when it actually pulls in eggs, there'll be little eggs in the nest. It'll pull the eggs in and then auto incubate them all the way down to 1%. So you're still going to need like your ACs or your Dimetrodons or something like that to hatch the eggs, but you're only going to need them for a very small amount of time. The hatchery is going to do all the work for you. It'll also increase the spoil timer of the egg astronomically, so you don't have to worry about being online. You can have your animals always set to mating and come back and just pick up where you left off. The other one to talk about is the nanny. This is really to when you get to the end, when you get to the point where you're like, all right, I finally got the things I want to do the imprints. This chica runs off of bee honey, or you can run it off the tech generator. Now, if you put bee honey in here, it increases the spoil timer of the bee honey considerably. So you don't have to worry about the bee honey expiring very quickly. This nanny does two things. One, normally infant dinos when they're born won't eat out of a trough until they're at least 10% maturity, which means you kind of sit there, you have to sit there and baby them, and will you please get out of here? It was incredibly unnecessary. Anyway, so the nanny, normally when babies hatch, they won't eat out of a trough until they're at 10% maturity. So you have to sit there and baby them and make sure they have food in their inventory, make sure they don't starve. This chica, you can actually put the food in her inventory and she'll feed them by herself. The other cool thing about her is that anything in range of her, she will auto imprint for you. You don't need to worry about the timer or walks or anything like that. She'll just auto import it. This does really well on servers that have like the maturation time shortened up, so that normally you wouldn't have the time to imprint it, but with her, she's just going to do it by herself. If she's running and she is the fuel source and your babies are in range of her, you are guaranteed to get 100% imprint. Guaranteed. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to provide the kibble. You don't have to go for walks. You don't have to do any of it. Sucks that she runs on bee honey because you got to make bee farms, but worth it. Definitely worth it. So that's more of just the egg hatching, laying stuff. So this is the thing that I really want to talk about for the S Plus users and for this video. This is the S Plus mutator. Now it looks just kind of like an arc transmit array. It has a range option, which has a pretty big area, but you want to pay attention to this because this thing will affect anything within range of it. Now it requires element to pulse, but this does a lot of things. Now, there's a change modes option because this does a lot. Now, the first one here sends out a pulse of radiation, causes nearby dinos to lay mutated eggs or give birth to mutated offspring. So there's a timer that this thing goes off in. So you want to wait till your dinos are just about to lay the eggs, and then you want to kick the sucker on. And that way, when the eggs get laid, they'll be guaranteed a mutation. Now, it's not necessarily guaranteed a mutation that you want, but it's guaranteed a mutation. Now you can actually stack these. You can have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of these things stacked up right all next to each other, and as soon as your dinos are about to lay your eggs, you kick all of them off, and now you're looking at 10 mutations guaranteed. Again, not necessarily exactly where you want them, but definitely mutated. And also notice that, irradiated dinos cannot move while that's going on. That's the first mode. Second mode swaps the dinos of the genders for 6 hours. Now this is cool because for instance of the raptors, let's say I was trying to breed the stats down to the first big pair that I made to breed for the mutations, and I couldn't get a male. Well, I can take one of those females out, you put it in a range of this mutator, hit the charge, and it'll make it a male long enough for me to breed with the rest of them. So it helps out a lot, especially when you're just trying to get that one male or just trying to get that one female to help you out. This is another interesting one. This grants a gender to a nearby genderless dino, which will enable you to mate certain things and to mate boost certain things. This will let you breed animals that couldn't normally be bred, but they'll always count as like a gestation. It won't be like an egg-laying thing. There's a couple caveats that it doesn't work on Reapers, mechs, or corrupted dinos. And you also have to pay attention to this. Sometimes they'll fall underneath the mesh of the map unless they're like elevated up. So this one's a little wonky. I would suggest running a mod that lets you breed certain animals versus try to use that one. This one stops nearby dinos from aging, which is, I guess, effective if you're not using the nanny. You can stop them from aging so that you can get the imprint on them. And that also means that they don't eat nearly as much. You can get corrupted versions of your dinos. You can corrupt them, take a normal version and use it on corruption. Now, however, this also this applies to like only dinos that normally have a corrupted counterpart. Also note, you lose any items that are on the dino, and you also lose your imprints. You can do this with the aberrant version as well. Follows the same rules. It has to be a creature that already has an aberrant version. You're going to lose your items and your imprint. And that is it. So this mutator is crazy good, right? So if you got element, if you have access to element, this is the way to go, and it will speed this process up exponentially. But that is it for mutations, really. Key things to take away. Once again, I cannot stress enough: don't put levels into the dinos. Get the dinos that have the high stats that you're looking for. Breed them until you get a breeding group that has those same stats associated to them. In this case, it's the health and the melee. Keep breeding these things over and over and over, and eventually you'll get the mutations that you're looking for here. Colors and stats, once they're mutated, are cemented into those tames. They're viewed as like actual stats, not mutations. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, this method, at least this is a method that I use, and that seems to work really well for me. Works with anything that you can breed and imprint. Anything that you can breed and imprint, you can mutate. It's really it, guys. It's not a huge video, but I kind of wanted to cap this sort of sequence of videos that we had going on the ARC 101 trail. Hope you find it helpful. Maybe there's a way about this that you think works best for you that maybe I overlooked. Feel free to shoot something into the comments and let me know. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot something in the comments and let me know as well. We're going to get back on our usual schedule. So we're going to start build videos back up later on this week, and we're going to start doing mod reviews again on next coming Monday. So again, I apologize about that. We're going to get back on track. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please throw me a like, throw me a subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you can see the next video that's coming out. And as always, if you have something in mind that you're struggling with or trying to figure out, throw it in the comments. I can always take a look at it. Something that popped up a few days ago that I probably should clarify too. I do play all of this on PC. I use an Xbox game controller with my computer. I'm just comfortable using a gamepad for the most part, but I do all of this on PC. I don't do any of this on console. Some of this transfers over, with the exception of, obviously like mods and stuff like that. That's only PC, but I did want to clarify that. So we're going to keep going on the videos. We're going to journey a little bit more on our PvE server. If you're looking for an ARC PvE server to play on, feel free to shoot me a message here. Check out our Discord, follow me on Twitter. We also do Twitch streaming on the weekends as well. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and until next time.